stupid too. I should stop doing that. Nope, it's not. Diesel. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie Lee and I'm a mixed media artist, and on my channel I talk about mixed media art. Shocker, I know. In today's video I thought I would talk about the opposite of what I talked about in last week's video. In last week's video, I will link it down below, I talked about art supplies that I own that I never reach for. And today's video, I'm going to talk about art supplies that I use almost every day. These are things that I literally just keep right out on my desk, and I probably couldn't create the art I do without them. If you're into art and you are interested in mixed media art and want to see time-lapse videos of paintings, if you want to hear art information about supplies and techniques, I hope you'll stick around and subscribe to my channel. Let's get right into today's video. The first thing I have is something that may look kind of odd. This is actually called a mall stick, and this is something that oil painters have used for many years. What you do with this is, it's a very long wooden stick. It has a basically whatever you want to put on the end that's like soft, paper towel, tissue, anything like that. And what you do is you lay it across your canvas, not touching your wet oil paint, and you put your hand against this. That way your hand is not on your canvas and you don't touch all your wet oil paint and mess up your painting. So this is the mall stick that I have, and it's what I use when I do my oil paintings. And I rest my hand here, and then you can kind of just put it wherever you need to and move your hand anywhere and avoid the paint that you've already had on there, because as you know, oil paint stays wet for a while. So to avoid not being able to work on your painting until the paint you've used dries, mall stick. The next item I have is, it's actually my little tabletop canvas. I bought this at an art supply store, and it sits right on my desk, and this is where I do most of my paintings. It looks small, but it expands to hold paintings that are actually quite big. It has a nice little ledge here that you can rest your painting on, and then this, all of this is adjustable. This is adjustable. You can adjust it back or forth, however you need to. So it really is a nice easel. At first I thought, gosh, it's tiny, how am I gonna use that? But once I got to adjusting it, I have some quite large paintings that I can actually set on it, and it moves to accommodate those, and I can also work on my smaller ones. So really love that. I use that every single day. This item I use every single day, all the time. These are my Duo Aqua oil paints. This is the 20 tube set. I ordered these off Amazon, I believe. They came to me, as you can tell, they came to me from, I think it was China. The reason I use wholesome water soluble oil colors as opposed to just regular oil paint is because the water soluble part means that you can thin your oil paint using water instead of thinner, turpentine, anything like that. This is what the tube looks like. This is cobalt blue, and I have a whole set of colors, and I love these. Here's what it says on the box. This is why these are so easy to use. Especially for me, when I first started oil painting, I was so scared of oil paints. I'd only ever used acrylics, I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just learning, so this was a great option. I actually discovered these because I follow Camilla Derico, and I have some of her books. So she talks about using this particular brand of water-soluble oil paints. There are other brands that also do water-soluble oil paints. I am able to get Winsor Newton from the local art store here. These are artisan water mixable oil colors, and I like these as well. So if there's a color that I'm needing that I don't have, that's not in the set, and I don't feel like putting an order on the internet just for a couple colors, I run down to the art store and I can usually find it in this brand. According to the information from the company, Duo paints your brushes, palette, and workspace clean up with soap and water. You don't need to use thinners or turpentine. They eliminate the necessity of harsh and toxic solvents in the studio. Now, this is important for me. My art studio, I don't know if you can tell from here, probably not. It's right smack in the middle of my house. We have 5 kids, we have pets. My dog is asleep over there. We have 3 dogs, we have 5 kids, I have a fiance, there's me. We invite, our kids' friends over to stay at our house. And with having an art studio directly in the middle of my house, it's actually in where the old dining room used to be, people are in here all the time. And a lot of items used for especially oil painting can be very toxic and bad for your plumbing, bad for the environment, bad for your skin, bad for you to breathe in. And this really helps cut down on having toxic materials right in the middle of my house. I really appreciate that about this set of oil paints. It does say right here on the box that these paints are ideal for those painters who are sensitive or allergic to toxic solvents. And it also says that they're compatible with traditional oil color and water-based media. So another nice thing about them, if you do have actual traditional oil colors, you can actually use them together with the duos and it's gonna work just fine, which I have done that and it works just fine. So these are my go-to oil paints. I love them. I use them every single day. The next item I have that I use consistently all the time are my Canon Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons. These are fantastic. This is what they look like. They are literally crayons, that's what they look like. And I've had this particular set, you can see that they are still pretty intact. I think I bought these in 2016, it's now 2019, so these last forever. I love them so much. I use these to do my mixed media backgrounds. I use them to kind of just scribble color in places over when I've glued down paper. You take water, after you've scribbled the actual crayon, you can take water and dissolve that and it makes it into a watercolor. But instead of traditional watercolor paints being very, very light and not so pigmented, these are very pigmented, so the color shows up really well. It actually says that they're opaque, which means they cover up what's underneath them. So you can leave them opaque, you can let them cover up certain areas. Other areas you can use more water and it lets what's beneath show through. So it gives a really cool effect and I love using my Neocolors. They are great and apparently they might last me the rest of my life because I use them almost every day and that's how much is left out of the set that I bought. You don't have to buy this particular set. I did order these off the internet. They are not available in my local art stores. Caron is a Swiss company. They do art supplies. They have been making art supplies for years. They're very high quality, but they're also expensive. And there are watercolor crayons that you can buy at your local art store that are going to do just fine. I have another set, I want to say it's also Winsor Newton possibly, that I first bought to try out the whole concept of using these, and I like those. I just prefer these. Something I use every day that might surprise you is actually that little guy right there. This is obviously a Q-tip or cotton swab, whatever you want to call it. I use these to clean up areas that the paint has gone where I didn't want it to. I've used these with thinner and you can kind of clean up areas with water. They are so handy to have around. And so this is something I actually keep a little stash of them right beside my oil paint set and use these all the time. Another thing that I just recently found that I'm absolutely loving is these little paintbrushes right here. I've always struggled to find tiny paintbrushes for doing real detail work, and I have them, but I've never really been that happy with them. These are awesome. The brand is Master's Touch Fine Art Studio, which is a Hobby Lobby brand, and they're called spotter paintbrushes, which I don't know what kind of magic spotter is, but they work so great for doing little detail work around the eyes, doing faces, doing little pops of like white or dark color to bring out the contrast. They are just amazing. I love these. And this one is a different brand, Princeton Velvet Touch, also called a spotter. That one is also one that I reach for all the time. Now, I am a lazy brush washer. I should wash my brushes more often than I do. What I normally do is I have this right here that has my water in it. As you can see, I leave brushes sitting in it sometimes. I try not to, but sometimes I just forget, and so these I never leave in that ever. Like when I'm using them, because they're so fine, because they're so small, I wash them off after I use them, lay them down on my paper towel and leave them like that. I never put them in the water, just because I really think that if these are kept like that for any length of time, it will ruin the end of them and I will be sad. So those brushes are awesome. Something else that I use all the time is my regular matte Mod Podge. This is what I use to glue down my papers on my background. I also use it to glue down some more items that are like flatter, like if I use vellum, which I don't do very often, but I do sometimes. This is great for any thin material that you want to glue down on a canvas or paper or board. Mod Podge. What I've found that Mod Podge does that I haven't seen with like using gel medium or any other types of glues is that as the Mod Podge dries, it flattens the paper to the surface, so it almost like sucks it down, so you have no air bubbles, no wrinkles, nothing that when it dries you look at it and you go, oh, I messed that up. This will pull it all smooth, so you have a really great surface to start layering on top of. Mod Podge, gotta love it. Another thing I use constantly is my matte super heavy gel. If you watch my other video, I was actually at the store trying to find more of this, and I use this to glue down my 3D mixed media items onto my canvas. Like all of this stuff right here. I don't know if you can, yeah. I use the heavy gel to glue those down, and not only is it great because it's clear, it holds everything, but after I've used it and everything's dried, nothing falls off. I've never had any issues with any of the stuff I've put on my canvases falling off. So I just love the super heavy gel medium. I get the matte. There is a glossy. I prefer the matte because I tend to put stuff over where I've had the glue, so it doesn't, you know, get seen at all. I've never really used the glossy, so I just don't buy it. Another thing that I keep, it is not actually spick and span. This is just a bottle that I cleaned out, but it is just a spray bottle of water. I keep it right beside my workspace, and when I'm working with inks or the Neocolor crayons on the background, I spray a lot and let it kind of move around and do its own thing, and so I keep this within arm's reach. And then over here, beside my lovely dog, is my drawer of glitter. This is something I use all the time. I have all of my glitter right here in my top drawer and within easy reach, so that I can grab it and sprinkle it onto my paintings, because pretty much all the paintings I do have glitter on them. So that is also something I use every single day. So that's all the items I have here for the moment. I just thought it would be fun to tell you what I do use every day, since the last video I talked about things I don't ever use. These are things I've gotten to know. I understand how they work. I know how to use them. I like how they look on my paintings, and I feel comfortable using them. So that's why all of this stuff is within easy reach of my easel, of my desk, and why I use them consistently every day for my art. So that's today's video. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me on this rainy day here. as you can see, as you could hopefully see, it's definitely a wet day outside, which was a great day for me to hang out in my studio and talk to you guys about my favorite art stuff, because I love talking about art. If you love art as well, I hope you'll stick around, subscribe. I've got more art videos coming up. Come hang out with me on my next video. Until then, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next time. Bye!